Hi everybody. In the previous class, we discussed the kingdom Mycota. Under the kingdom Mycota, we discussed the ascomycete fungi. Okay. So far, we discussed two classes under the kingdom Mycota, phycomycete and ascomycete. So phycomycete have a primitive fungi and they have cenocytic hyphae, whereas ascomycete fungi have septate hyphae. Okay, and both phycomycetes and ascomycetes are found everywhere, like soil, water, and as a parasites and as a saprophytes. Okay, so both the group of organisms they reproduce asexually or by sexual method also. In sexual method, phycomycetes produces zygospores or oospores, whereas ascomycetes produces sexual spores called ascospores. So ascospores are produced within a sac-like structure called ascus. That's why the name ascomycetes. So many of such ascus, so plural form is asci, many of that ascus grouped together to form a compact structure. That compact structure is called as a fruiting body. That fruiting body of that ascomycete is called as ascocarp. Okay, so we discussed some examples for the ascomycetes also. The well-known fungi, the penicillin producing fungi called as the penicillium, belongs to this ascomycetes, and black mold called as Aspergillus niger, that is found on onion also, that is belongs to this ascomycete, and claviceps purpurea, the disease causing organism in ascomycete. And one more well-known organism from this ascomycete is yeast, Saccharomyces cerevisiae. It is used as a baker's yeast or a brewer's yeast. In the bakery industries, it is used to prepare the dishes. Okay, and in the refineries, like not refineries, in beverage industries, so it is all of yeast is used to produce alcohol. Okay, because yeast is only fungi which don't have any mycelia or hyphae, do not produce the hyphae at all, and it is a fermenting agent. It can live or it can perform its function without the oxygen. So it in anaerobic condition, it has the ability to produce alcohol. That's why it is used as brewer's yeast. Okay. So far we completed two classes of the fungi. So next class is basidiomycete. Next class is basidiomycetes. Okay. So basidiomycete, it is the third class we are going to study under the kingdom Mycota. So let's see what are the characteristic feature of this basidiomycetes. Okay, so basidiomycetes. So the name basidio, there is a peculiar structure called as a basidia. Okay, so it produces basidia. Okay, so based on that basidia, so it is a basidia producing fungi. So what is that basidia? So basidia is a finger-like projection like this. So this is called basidia. Okay, so on that it produces the spores. That's why it is called as basidiospores. So sexual spores called basidiospores produced by this basidiomycetes. Then what is the nature of hyphae? So basidiomycetes produces a septate hyphae. Produces septate hyphae. So as we know, septate hyphae having septa. Okay. Suppose this is a hyphae. That hyphae is having septa or cross walls, and that leads to the formation of a multinucleate condition-like structure. So compartmentalization is there. Okay, so this is the septa they produce. The septa. Okay, so this is the nature of this basidiomycete. The structure of this hyphae is similar to ascomycete. Okay, because phycomycete have cenocytic hyphae without any septa, but here they have septa. Okay, and one more important thing here is the septa provided with a specific type of cross wall. They have specific type of cross wall. Okay, so this cross wall is provided with special kind of septa like this. Okay, that means the septa cross wall is like this. So this is the septa. Okay, so this septa is called by a specific name called as dolipore septa. Okay, so presence of dolipore septa is a characteristic feature of this basidiomycete. Okay, so it is called as oronin body which is present there. So dolipore septa is present there. So this is dolipore septa, this is dolipore septa. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಡೋಲಿ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ನಾವು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳಿರ್ಬೋದು, ದೇವರುಗಳನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಡೋಲಿ ಅಂತ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ವೇರ್ ಇಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ದ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್. ಆ ಕಡೆ ಈ ಕಡೆ ಇಬ್ಬರು ಅಥವಾ 4 ಜನ ಅದನ್ನು ಶೋಲ್ಡರ್ಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ತೊಗೊಂಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ದ ಡೋಲಿ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ದ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್. ಈ ಥರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಡೋಲಿ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ದ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಈಸ್ ರಿಸೆಂಬ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ದಿಸ್, ದಟ್ಸ್ ವೈ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಅ dolipore septa. Presence of dolipore septa is a characteristic feature of this basidiomycete. Okay, so this is how the septa is. And what is the habitat? So ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತದೆ ಇದು basidiomycete? Okay, so basidiomycete is chiefly found in soil. Okay, soil ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ as decomposer that helps in the nutrient cycling. Decomposer ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ on wooden logs ಮೇಲೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. even they are found as parasites. Okay, as parasites that causes diseases. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಸಾಯಿಲಲ್ಲಿ ಆಸ್ ಅ ಡಿಕಂಪೋಸರ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ವುಡನ್ ಲಾಗ್ಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಗ್ರೋ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಪ್ಯಾರಾಸೈಟಿಕ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೂಡ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಫೀಚರ್ ಈಸ್ ದೇ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸಸ್ ಎ ವೆರಿ ಪೆಕ್ಯುಲಿಯರ್ ಫ್ರೂಟಿಂಗ್ ಬಾಡಿ. ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ದಟ್. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದ ಹ್ಯಾಬಿಟಾಟ್. ಸೊ basidiomycetes are not usually found in the water. Most of them are found in the soil itself. Okay, next, what is the structure? So next come to their structure. ಹೇಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದೆಮ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ದಟ್ septate hyphae, as already told. Septate hyphae and produce fruiting bodies. Okay, and they produce fruiting bodies. That fruiting bodies are called as basidiocarp. So fruiting bodies ಅನ್ನ basidiocarp ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. So the presence of this basidiocarp is a characteristic feature. Presence of basidiocarp is a characteristic feature, is a characteristic feature of this class basidiomycete. Okay, so the ಹೇಗಿರುತ್ತೆ we can discuss during sexual reproduction. In a simple form I can tell how it is. So it has a cap like structure like this, and they produces stalk like this, and they produces the structures which look like this. Okay, so ಈ ರೀತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಆಲ್ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ನೋಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ basidiocarp. Okay, so this is the basidiocarp. Okay, so basidiocarp ಅನ್ನ ಕಾಮನ್ ಆಗಿ ನಾವು it is nothing but ಮಶ್ರೂಮ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಅಂದರೆ ಮಶ್ರೂಮ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡೋ ಎಲ್ಲ ಫಂಗಸ್ಗಳು ಎಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಎ ಫ್ಯೂ ವಿಚ್ ಆರ್ ಬಿಲಾಂಗ್ ಟು ascomycetes somewhere. So mushrooms are nothing but basidiomycetes. Okay, yeah. So then come to the mode of nutrition. What is the mode of nutrition? So these basidiomycetes fungi, they are chiefly saprophytes. They are chiefly saprophytes, growing on dead and decaying matter, growing on organic matter or simply matter. Okay. Then parasites. So parasites causes diseases in plants. Usually they cause a disease in plants and not in animals most of the time. So there was no basidiomycete which causes diseases in animals. Okay, that causes the diseases in plants as a parasites. So this is the mode of nutrition. So let me give some examples for saprophytic basidiomycetes. Most common one is agaricus. Okay, so agaricus, commonly we call it as mushroom. Okay, so mushroom is the best example for saprophytic. And parasitic can give the example like the fungi. Puccinia, fungi ಹೆಸರು Puccinia, causes rust disease. Rust disease in wheat. Okay, so wheat nalli rust disease na cause ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. And one more is Ustilago. Ustilago causes smut disease in ray plant. Okay, so ಏನಾಯ್ತು monocots ಅಲ್ಲಿ usually ಇದು Ustilago smut ಅನ್ನು cause ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. Okay, so mode of nutrition, this basidiomycetes either they are saprophytes or parasites. There were no symbionts, and few symbionts were there which shows the association with algae to form a lichen, but very rare, very rare. Okay, so saprophytes, they are growing on dead and decaying matter which helps in decomposition and nutrient cycling. The best example for that saprophytic mushroom, saprophytic basidiomycete is agaricus, and many were there. Pleurotus is also there. And parasitic, which causes the disease in plants. Okay, so there's Puccinia and Ustilago. So Puccinia are commonly called as rust fungi. Okay, that causes the rust in plants, especially in monocots plant, like they causes the disease in wheat and maize and even in a sorghum. Okay, then Ustilago, it's a smut fungi. Ustilago is called as a smut fungi, which causes the smut disease in ray as well as wheat also. Okay, so this is about how they draw the nutrients. That is the mode of nutrition. And important part of this basidiomycete is reproduction. Okay, so let's move on to the next topic, that reproduction in basidiomycete. Reproduction in basidiomycete. Okay, so in a reproduction, it can reproduce rarely by vegetative method. So vegetative method, that is by fragmentation. By fragmentation, as I yesterday discussed, fragmentation is a process where that hyphae, septate hyphae, is become fragmented This become fragments, and each fragment can grows into individual one if it get fragment like this. So this one of the fragment can grow into the individual hyphae again. Okay, so one fragment, so this one fragment can grow into the new hyphae again, that is fragmentation. So next is asexual method. So in all other classes we studied like phycomycetes and ascomycete, we came across this asexual method. So in asexual method they produces specialized structure that to produce the asexual reproductive propagule like spores. In case of phycomycetes, we studied yesterday in the previous class. In phycomycete they produces structure called sporangia. Within the sporangia you can find the spores. Okay, so these are planospores. Sometimes they produce as zoospores as well. So phycomycetes asexual method. Asexual method. So in asexual method they produces this aplanospores, whereas in case of ascomycete, yesterday only we discussed, they produces a tall structure, elongated structure, and that it shows the branches like this. These branches again shows further branches, and these branches spores are going to produce, and these spores, exogenously produced spores, are called as conidia. So these are termed as conidia. Okay, so these are exogenous and these are endogenous. Okay, so like this, asexual reproductive propagules are produced in phycomycetes and ascomycetes, whereas in case of basidiomycete, asexual method is absent. Okay, so asexual method is absent in basidiomycete, but sometimes that hyphae fragmentation takes place, that is called a vegetative method. Okay, so vegetative method is there. Remember, asexual method is completely absent. Okay, so asexual like propagules are absent, and they reproduce majorly by sexual method. In sexual method they reproduce by produces basidiospores. Okay, so these are in sexual method basidiomycetes produces basidiospores. So basidiospores are the sexual spores of basidiomycetes. Similarly, ascomycetes produces the sexual spores called ascospores. Okay, similarly phycomycetes reproduce sexually by producing zygospores, ascospores, basidiospores. So these are the different types of sexual spores produced in the kingdom fungi. So based on those sexual spores only, we can classify them into different classes like phycomycetes, ascomycetes and basidiomycetes. Okay, so let me discuss in detail how these basidiospores are going to produce. Of course, they are produced within a sac like a structure called as a basidia. Let's see how that basidia is going to be produced. Of course, in the previous introductory class of this fungi itself, we discussed there is a special kind of stage called as dikaryon stage in this fungi. So these basidiomycete also have that dikaryon stage. So this basidiomycete during sexual reproduction they produces spores called Basidiospores. So let's see how that basidiospores are going to be produced. Okay. So here also during sexual reproduction, when the two compatible hyphae were approach each other, when the two compatible hyphae with the septate nature approach each other, so it is called as homothallic here. Homothallic means the hyphae which are produced from the same spore, okay, they can act as the compatible hyphae, and sexual structures like antheridia and archegonia are absent here. Okay, that is one of the important point. Sexual structures like archegonia and antheridia are absent. Archegonia ಮತ್ತೆ antheridia absent ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಈ ಬೇಸಿಡಿಯೋ ಮೈಸಿಟ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. Okay, so let have nuclei. Okay. So let me write only that hyphal part. So here at the point of contact, that approach here, when they are touch each other, at the point of contact, wall dissolves, okay. So at the point of contact, wall dissolves. Wall dissolve ಆಗುತ್ತೆ at the point of contact. Now the content of one compartment ಅಥವಾ one cell is migrated to another cell. At the point of contact, the whole content from one compartment is shifted to another compartment. Let's say here both are shifted here. Now it has two nuclei, one nuclei from this compartment or this hyphae and another nuclei from another hyphae. So here plasmogamy occurs immediately. Plasmogamy occurs immediately, but it delays karyogamy. That means plasmogamy means fusion of plasmogamy. It is a fusion of cytoplasm. Okay, so it occurs immediately when the wall dissolves. Whatever the content which is present here, it get migrated here. It does not mean that always from this side, even this to this side also occurs. Okay, so fusion of cytoplasm. So the nucleus and the cytoplasm from one compartment or one hyphae migrated to another hyphae. That process, the fusion of when the cytoplasm move to one compartment, so the cytoplasm is get fused immediately. That process is plasmogamy. But nucleus do not undergo fusion, and the karyogamy do not occurs immediately. So here karyogamy means fusion of nucleus. Okay, but here the dikaryon stage created. So this creates dikaryon. Okay, so what is that dikaryon? So dikaryon is a stage in the sexual reproduction of ascomycetes and basidiomycetes, where during sexual reproduction plasmogamy occurs immediately and delays karyogamy. Okay, so during sexual reproduction in fungi, plasmogamy occurs immediately and it delays the karyogamy, leads to a stage called dikaryon. So dikaryon is a stage where one compartment or one cell of hyphae consisting of two different nuclei, one nuclei from one hyphae, another nuclei from another hyphae. The presence of two nuclei within a cell during sexual reproduction forms the dikaryon. Okay, so after this what happens? So after this dikaryon stage, these hyphae are in a dikaryon stage itself for some times, then they are going to be fused. See there, later karyogamy occurs. That means there will be a fusion of nucleus. So now karyogamy occurs. Now karyogamy occurs. So karyogamy means fusion of nucleus. Okay. Now until here it is haploid, idu haploid irutte, haploid. But here haploid and haploid, they are present within the same hyphae, same cell. Now it becomes diploid. Okay, so now karyogamy occurs. That means a fusion of nucleus occurs that creates the 2n stage, that is a zygote. Now this zygote undergo meiosis. Okay, so next stage. So after this, ಫ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಆಯಿತು. ಇದು ಫ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಆದ ನಂತರ ಮಿಯಾಸಿಸ್ ಅಕ್ಕರ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಹಿಯರ್ ಮಿಯಾಸಿಸ್, ಸೊ ದಿಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಝೈಗೋಟ್. ಇದನ್ನು ಝೈಗೋಟ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿಬೋದು, ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ 2n ಸ್ಟೇಜ್ ಇದೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ನಾವು ಇಟ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಗೋ ಮಿಯಾಸಿಸ್. So meiosis will occur to form four nuclei. Of course, you know the product of meiosis is 4 nuclei. Okay, now these nuclei move to specialized structures. Now it starts enlarges. This structure enlarges. These 4 nuclei, now they start move to you can observe the growth structure. They move like this, then okay. Now these nuclei move to this furrows. ಈ ರೀತಿ ಫರೋ ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಫರೋ ಒಳಗಡೆ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲೈ ಮೂವ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್, ಡ್ಯೂರಿಂಗ್ ದ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್ forms the structure like this. Okay, so it forms the structure like that. Okay, so you can observe the gradual stages there. So when the two mycelia or hyphae approach each other, if they are compatible, when they're at the point of contact, wall dissolves. You can label it. Wall dissolves. Okay, so after the wall dissolving, content of one cell migrate to another cell, that immediately plasmogamy occurs, but it delays the karyogamy, that leads to the formation of dikaryon stage. After some time, karyogamy occurs, that is a fusion of nucleus occurs. So gradually the zygote is formed, that is a diploid zygote is going to form. That zygote undergo meiosis, that is nucleus undergo division. Okay, at the same time that cell starts enlarge. So gradually after meiosis it produces the 4 cells. That 4 cells arranged in a specific way that it migrates into the furrows which are later formed there. Okay, so and the last stage, in the last stage, so let me write that here. So the last stage, they are get pinched off. Okay, so here these see there, they are present like this there. Okay, so here that 4 projections like structure, and this structure gradually creates the furrow like this. ಈ ಥರ ಫರ್ರೋ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Okay, so gradually that furrow join together to separate them out. ಈ ರೀತಿ separate ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Okay, so after that they are going to produce the spores like this. Okay, so after the furrowing, ಈ ರೀತಿ furrow ಆಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು the spores are get separates out. Okay, so these spores are get separates out, and these spores are called as basidio spores. ನೋಡಿ ಈ ತರ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಹಿಂಗ್ ಲಾರ್ಜ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಪಿಂಚ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. It get pinched off and produces the basidiospores. Okay, and now this structure is called as basidia. This structure is called as basidia. Okay, so this is the structure called basidia. On the basidia, basidiospores are produced. So basidiospores are the product of sexual reproduction. Based on what we are going to tell it is a sexual spores andre, because meiosis occurs. So because of that meiosis, it produces the 4 spores. Those are haploid in nature. So diploid irutte zygote alli, then they become haploid, haploid, haploid. So haploid spores are going to be produced. So that's why these are sexual spores. Those sexual spores are called basidiospores, which are produced in a basidia. That's why this group of fungi called as basidiomycete. Okay, and these basidia, many of such basidia, they are grouped together to form a compact structure. That compact structure is called as basidiocarp. So let's see how that basidiocarp is going to be produced. Okay, so this is the basidia. Just imagine there is a hypha. So ಈ ರೀತಿ multiple hyphae ಇರುತ್ತೆ. On each of this hyphae, just imagine there will be a formation of basidia like this. That finger like projection is going to be formed here. Okay, so like this many basidia are going to be formed. So these are basidia. So this is basidia. Okay, many such basidia is called as basidium. Okay, so basidium form agata. So many of such basidium are grouped together to form a compact structure called as basidiocarp. Okay, so hope you understand how that basidia is formed. So now let's see how that basidium. So let me write this whole structure. Let me write like this. A whole structure na ತರ ಬರೀತೀನಿ. So ಇದು ಹೇಗೆ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, many of such basidia. So this is hyphae, and at the tip they forms the basidia like this. Okay, so let's say this is the horizontal hyphae, this is the elongated one, and it produces basidium. Okay, so many of such basidium. Okay, so just imagine one more basidium. So one more basidium. So let me write in different color. So few more basidium. Many of such basidia are compactly arranged like this. Okay, so their compact arrangement finally form the structure like this. ಈ ರೀತಿ ಒಂದು ಕಾಂಪ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ನ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. Okay, Okay, so this compact structure is called as basidiocarp. Okay, so many such basidia are compactly arranged to form basidiocarp. ನೋಡಿ ಈ ತರದ್ದು ಒಂದು ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಸೊ ಅದನ್ನೇ ನಾನು ಈ ತರ ಬರೆದಿರೋದು ಇಲ್ಲಿ. ಇದು basidia ಇಂಡಿಕೇಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. So like this, many are arranged like this, and now this is single structure which formed inside is called as gill. ಅದನ್ನು ಗಿಲ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಆ ಗಿಲ್ಲಲ್ಲಿ ಮೆನಿ ಬೆಸಿಡಿಯಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಆಲ್ ಆರ್ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ಟುಗೆದರ್ ಟು ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಎ ಕಾಂಪ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಬೆಸಿಡಿಯೋಕಾರ್ಪ್. ಸೊ ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ಸಿ ಹೌ ದಟ್ ಬೆಸಿಡಿಯೋಕಾರ್ಪ್ ಲುಕ್ ಲೈಕ್. ಹೇಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಬೆಸಿಡಿಯೋಕಾರ್ಪ್ ನೋಡೋಕ್ಕೆ? ಅಫ್ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ನೋಡಿರ್ತೀರ ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಮಶ್ರೂಮ್ಸ್ ಹೇಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ದಟ್ ಮಶ್ರೂಮ್ ಈಸ್ ನಥಿಂಗ್ ಬಟ್ ಎ ಬೆಸಿಡಿಯೋಕಾರ್ಪ್. ಈ ಥರ ಸಾಯಿಲಲ್ಲಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, now it produces the cap like structure like this. Okay, so this cap like structure consisting of many radiate like structure like this. Okay, and this structure is now covered by like this. Okay, so ಈ ರೀತಿ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. This is look like a cap. Okay, this is how mushroom appears. Okay, so in that mushroom this structure is called as pileus. This is gills. So these are gills, and this is stipe. This is annulus. Okay, so like this mushroom is produced. So this mushroom is the compactly arranged structure of many basidium. Many basidium are present. This individual gills consisting of many basidium like this, which are present on both the sides. Okay, ಈ ರೀತಿ basidia arrange ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. So finally it produces the structure called as mushroom. Okay, so ಈ ರೀತಿ ಕ್ಯಾಪ್ ಇರುವಂಥದ್ದು ಪೈಲಿಯಸ್. ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಸೈಜ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಶೇಪ್. ಈ ರೀತಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಬೆಸಿಡಿಯಾ. ಈ ಥರ ಇರುವಂಥ ಮಶ್ರೂಮ್ಸು ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಈ ಥರ ಕ್ಯಾಪ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಇರುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಸೊ ಲೈಕ್ ದಟ್ ಮೆನಿ ಟೈಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಬೆಸಿಡಿಯೋಕಾರ್ಪ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ದೇರ್. ಸೊ ಬೆಸಿಡಿಯೋಕಾರ್ಪ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಫ್ರೂಟಿಂಗ್ ಬಾಡಿ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ agaricus species, and this is the edible species of mushroom. Okay, so basidiocarp is nothing but the fruiting body. Basidiocarp is fruiting body. So fruiting body of basidiomycetes. Okay, so this is how they reproduce, and these are sexual spores. So these are sexual spores which are released. So these sexual spores get germination to produce hyphae. This starts to produce the hyphae with compartment. So this is the hyphae. So this hyphae compactly arranged and produces the basidiocarp during sexual reproduction. Okay. Yeah, so this is about the basidiomycetes sexual reproduction. So far we discussed the structure of different kinds of basidiocarp. So let us look into some beautiful photographs of that basidiocarps, like different kinds of mushrooms and their spores, how they produce the spores. So that the technique, when that pile is kept on a paper, it produces the print of those spores. Okay, so let's see some that photographs of basidiocarps, that means mushrooms. So generally we call them as mushrooms. Mushroom galana photographs ಗಳಿದೆ ಒಂದಿಷ್ಟು. Let's see the photographs. So let's see the importance of this basidiomycetes. Importance of basidiomycetes. Remember, most of them are saprophytes. They are saprophytes. Helps in decomposition. Helps in decomposition and nutrient cycling. And nutrient cycling, and fewer parasites. So fewer parasites that causes the diseases. Okay, so as I already told, can give the two examples for that. One is Puccinia species. There are many species, and this Puccinia, remember, this Puccinia is a heterogeneous fungi. That means it produces different kinds of spores. Okay, and Eustilago species. That Eustilago species, so the Puccinia causes, as already told, a rust disease. It causes a rust disease, whereas Eustilago causes smut disease. Okay, rust disease in wheat and smut disease in rye or even in wheat. Okay, so these are the two examples for disease causing basidiomycetes. And edible edibles. Okay, so many of these basidiomycetes like called as button mushroom we call, so adanna edible adu. Okay, so edible mushrooms ge like agaricus species. So this agaricus is a common edible mushroom. It is commonly called as mushroom. Okay, commonly called as mushroom. And there is a species called a pleurotus species. Okay, so pleurotus is edible in nature. So these are the two edibles. Of course many were there, so these are the most common one. Okay, and I would like to give one extra information. In basidiomycete there is a fungi called fly agaric. ಅದನ್ನು ಕಾಮನ್ ಆಗಿ ಫ್ಲೈ ಅಗಾರಿಕ್ ಅಂತೀವಿ. ಈಸ್ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಡೆಡ್ಲಿಯೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಶ್ರೂಮ್. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಡೆಡ್ಲಿಯೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಶ್ರೂಮ್. ಆ ಪೈಲಿಯಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಕ್ಯಾಪ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಅಂಬ್ರೆಲಾ ಥರ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ರೆಡ್ ಕಲರ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ವೈಟ್ ಡಾಟ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಡೆಡ್ಲಿಯೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಶ್ರೂಮ್. ದರ್ ಇಸ್ ನೋ ಆ್ಯಂಟಿಡೋಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ದಿಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ನೋಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಬ್ಯೂಟಿಫುಲ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಬಟ್ ಡೇಂಜರಸ್ ಇದು. ಇದನ್ನು ತಿಂದರೆ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ನೋ ಆ್ಯಂಟಿಡೋಟ್. ಓಕೆ, ಫೈನಲಿ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಡೈ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಡೆಡ್ಲಿಯೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಶ್ರೂಮ್ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಅಮ್ಯಾನಿಟಾ. ಅಮ್ಯಾನಿಟಾ ಮಸ್ಕ್ಯಾರಿಸ್ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಇದು ಫಂಗೈ, ಇದ್ರ ಮಶ್ರೂಮ್ ಅದು. ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಡೆಡ್ಲಿಯೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಶ್ರೂಮ್, ಡೆಡ್ಲಿಯೆಸ್ಟ್ ಫಂಗೈ ಕೂಡ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಇದು ಅಮ್ಯಾನಿಟಾ ಮಸ್ಕ್ಯಾರಿಸ್. ಇದನ್ನು ತಿಂದರೆ 100% ಸತ್ತೋಗ್ತಾರೆ, ಅಷ್ಟು ಡೆಡ್ಲಿಯೆಸ್ಟ್ ಇದು. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಲೆಟ್ ಮಿ ಗಿವ್ ಫ್ಯೂ ಮೋರ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ರಿಗಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ದಟ್ ವೀಟ್ ರಸ್ಟ್ ಕಾಸಿಂಗ್ ಫಂಗೈ, ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಪಕ್ಸಿನಿಯಾ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಪಕ್ಸಿನಿಯಾ need 2 host. ಇದು ಲೈಫ್ ಸೈಕಲ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಆಗಲಿಕ್ಕೆ 2 ಹೋಸ್ಟ್ ಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಹೋಸ್ಟ್ is wheat, so it is called as a wheat rust. That's why it is called as wheat rust. And secondary host is a plant called barberry plant. Okay, so barberry plant ಅನ್ನೋದು ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಹೋಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಪಕ್ಸಿನಿಯಾ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸಸ್ 5 types of spores. ಇದೊಂದೇ ಫಂಗೈ 5 ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಟೈಪ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಸನ್ನು ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಯಾವುದು 5 ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ, ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಹೋಸ್ಟ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಒಂದಿಷ್ಟು ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಹೋಸ್ಟ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಒಂದಿಷ್ಟು ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಸ್ನ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಆನ್ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಹೋಸ್ಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸಸ್ ಯೂರಿಡೋಸ್ಪೋರ್ಸ್, tulitospores and basidiospores. Istu 3 types of spores are produced on wheat plant, and 2 on this barberry plant, pycnio and achiospores. And achiospores. So these are the 5 different types of spores which are produced by this Puccinia. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಯೂಶಲಿ ಫಂಗೈನಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದೇ ಥರ ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಸೆಕ್ಷುವಲ್ ಬೆಸಿಡಿಯೋಸ್ಪೋರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಇದು ಸೆಕ್ಷುವಲ್ ಅದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಇನ್ನೂ 4 ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಟೈಪ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಸನ್ನು ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಒಂದೇ ಫಂಗೈ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಹೆಟೆರೋಸ್ಪೋರಸ್ ಫಂಗೈ. Okay, so this is about basidiomycetes. Thank you.